Welcome to the Parenting Lab podcast. I'm your parent coach, Brittany, and I am here to guide you into the calm, clarity, and connection you're looking for as you transform your parenting from the inside out. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. I hope you've had an amazing week. I sent my daughter off on a 3-week humanitarian trip today. So I'm feeling a little bit weird with both of my kids out of the country. But I guess it's just a little taste of what's to come. So I'm trying to make the most of it until she gets home. But I have to say, my house is very quiet and it feels very strange. But it's good. I'm excited for her. Anyway, today I want to talk to you about something that's really at the very heart of the work of parenting. It's messy and nonlinear and deeply transformative, and this is the process of healing. So you've heard me talk about healing a lot, but healing isn't just a one-time event. It's not something that we check off of the list and say, done, did that. Or a phase that we go through, or a trend that we can follow on social media. Real healing is a cycle. It's a spiral, really. It begins with awareness, moves into the work of healing, and eventually leads to transformation. And as we transform, we become aware of even deeper layers, new edges, new patterns, and then we begin this cycle again. This is the process of healing. Awareness, the work of healing, and then transformation. So let's start by talking about awareness. This is the first step. Awareness is when you start to notice. You notice that something isn't right, even though you might not quite know what it is. It might be subtle at first, maybe a feeling of discomfort when you raise your voice, or a pang of guilt when you have a hard moment with your kids. Sometimes it's more obvious. You recognize that you're repeating words you swore you would never say, or you feel like you're reacting to your kids in ways that feel maybe too big or maybe strangely familiar to you. Awareness can show up like a whisper or a wrecking ball. But either way, it's an invitation to look closer, to pause and ask yourself, where did this come from? Is this my reaction, or is this something maybe that I inherited? And what is this part of me trying to protect? In parenting, awareness often arises when your child is reflecting back your own wounds, when their big emotions activate your own unhealed ones. And here's the thing. Awareness can be uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable most of the time. It pulls back the curtain. It shines a light on what's been hidden and automatic and unconscious. But this awareness is powerful because it's the beginning of choice. Because you can't change what you don't notice, right? And when you do notice, this is when you get to begin again. Awareness is when you realize that you're not just parenting your kids, you're also being shaped by the way that you were parented. This can feel very disorienting at first, but awareness is sacred. It's the moment you begin to interrupt this pattern of parenting on autopilot. It's the gateway to choice. And as you probably know, in parenting, choice is everything. So now that you've had your light bulb moment, ta-da, and you're aware that something needs to change, next comes the work of healing. This is the part where you stay. You stay with what you've discovered, not to judge or shame yourself, but to really start to understand it, to give it space. This part of the process isn't glamorous, and it's not always Instagram worthy. It's the inner work, the quiet, slow, sometimes painful process of meeting the parts of yourself you used to avoid. Healing looks different for everyone. But for many parents that I work with, healing can sometimes include learning how to feel your feelings instead of stuffing them down, exploring childhood wounds and unmet needs and what that means, tending to our protective patterns like perfectionism, control, and avoidance, practicing new nervous system regulation skills like breathwork or grounding, learning how to integrate boundaries that cultivate safety and alignment. And this often includes going to therapy or working with a coach, reading, journaling, doing parts work, or even just allowing space for reflection. This is the season where you learn to face your triggers not as something to be feared or ashamed of, but as something to be understood, as invitations to confront those hidden parts of you and bring them out into the light where you can really start to see them as they are. Then, as you learn how to do this with the right tools and the right support, and then you're consciously engaging in this work of healing, this is where transformation begins to take shape. You start responding differently. You pause before yelling. You repair after rupture. You find yourself apologizing, not because you're wrong, but because you're just a human person and you're modeling accountability. You become more curious, more grounded, less reactive. Your identity as a parent begins to shift from enforcer to guide, from fixer to witness, and from overwhelmed to integrated. Your child doesn't become perfect, and honestly, neither do you. But as you're more present for the imperfection, your capacity increases. And here's another interesting thing that happens. Our perspective actually becomes clearer, but also more complex. We begin to notice the patterns beneath the patterns, the roots beneath the reactions, and just when we think we've got it, another layer surfaces. And we go deeper into this process of healing, and a new layer of awareness opens up, and you guessed it, the cycle begins again. So let's talk about why this process of awareness, healing, and transformation is so necessary in parenting. Because honestly, parenting will expose every unresolved part of us, not because we're doing something wrong, but because we're raising another human, then they require us to face the parts of ourselves we might otherwise avoid. We can only guide our kids to the depths we are willing to go within ourselves. That is why this healing cycle isn't a luxury. It is not self-help fluff. It is foundational. Your child doesn't just need your love. They need your presence. They need your regulation, they need your boundaries, your attunement. But here's the catch. We only can offer those things to our kids when we've begun to start offering them to ourselves. So this is the bottom line. When we parent without awareness, we end up repeating patterns we promised we would never repeat. When we ignore the need to heal, we pass on our pain, wrapped in protection, masked as discipline, disguised as it is what it is. This is just the way that I am. And when we resist transformation, we stay stuck in survival mode, even when our kids are asking us for more. But when we engage in this process, everything shifts. We create new cycles. We soften timelines. We build families where feelings are safe and mistakes are repairable and connection is the goal, not control. And maybe most importantly, we teach through who we are. Our children watch us and how we handle hard things. They watch how we speak to ourselves. They watch how we treat others when we're feeling overwhelmed. They are watching how we grow. So, when you commit to this process, you're not just healing yourself. You're rewriting the story your children will carry. You're giving them a model of what it looks like to be human, to struggle, to repair, to evolve. This is the season where parenting becomes more than just a role. It becomes a relationship. And your own growth becomes part of the family story. Because true transformation has a ripple effect. It's impossible for you to transform on this foundational level without leaving a lasting impact on the people around you. This is sacred work. It's universal and elemental. So wherever you are in this process, whether it's in the discomfort of new awareness, the gritty middle part of healing, or those first soul-stirring signs of transformation, I want you to know that you are exactly where you need to be in this moment. You're on the path, and you're doing this work that ripples across generations. Thank you so much for being with me here today. I would be so honored if you would share this podcast or leave a review so it can reach the parents who are seeking. I hope you'll join me next week as we continue to explore the art and science of parenting and put your parenting to the test. Take care, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Parenting Lab podcast. For our complete catalog of online courses, free resources, or to join our mailing list, please visit theparentinglab.org. See you next time.